Good morning to everybody again, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today and learn more about Sense Referrals. Before we get started, I just wanted to do a quick slide on housekeeping. Well, thank you again for making the time. We want you to ask plenty of questions. We absolutely love questions. Please use the Q&A panel in Zoom to to add your question over there. We will try and answer pretty much every single question, or if we run out of time, we will make sure we get back to you individually, but questions are very, very welcome. Also, this recording as well as the presentation will be distributed afterwards. So, no need to take notes or anything. You will have all of this content. So just sit back, make this an immersive experience for us. And, we want to learn from you, but at the same time, ask us questions, tell us what you do for referrals today, so we can have a substantive discussion. All right, with that, let's get started. So what we want to talk about today are Sense Referrals, which is Sense's latest product. And what we will specifically concentrate on today are 5 battle-tested ways to make referrals a competitive advantage. Just by way of introduction, my name is Pankaj. I am one of the founders of Sense. Sense is an engagement platform that is designed specifically for the staffing industry. We've been in business for a little over 5 years. We work with about 400 staffing companies, about a third of them that are large enterprises, over $100 million in revenue. And along this journey, we've raised about $40 million from several blue chip investors like Google Ventures, Axel Partners, as well as Avatar. Along with me today, we have Jason Jakes. Jason is our Director of Solutions Consulting. So he is the one who's going to take us through the product, give you an actual demonstration. And if you have questions about the actual product itself, please feel free to throw questions at us, and I will keep interspersing them while Jason is doing his demonstration. We also have Ryan with us. Ryan is the product manager, the product specialist behind Referrals. So he's the brains behind the product, which essentially means any question you have on a feature set, how it's implemented, what's the future of that looking like, Ryan would be able to answer that as well. So between the three of us, hopefully we can answer most of your questions. This is a rough cut of our agenda. We're going to start by talking on why we decided to focus on referrals and build a product specifically for that. We'll also talk about some of the key metrics that you should use to measure the success of your referral program. Then we'll get into the meat of what are the 5 ways where you can use referrals as a competitive advantage. And finally, we will do a demo of the product followed by Q&A. It's our promise to you that we will absolutely end on time. I'm sure everybody's packed and you have meetings afterwards. And if possible, we'll actually try and give you a couple of minutes back in your day. But we certainly will end on time, and you will have all of this content with you later on. All right, so with that, let's get started. So why did we want to focus on referrals? So first of all, referrals, if you and every recruiter would attest to this, is probably the fastest and the highest way in which you can get placements. The people who apply to you via a referrals or people who come to you via a referral are the ones that are much more likely to get hired. You can see some of the statistics right here, 55% faster to hire. And in our industry where time to hire is everything, that's where any referrals that you can gather from your employee base, from your contractors, can essentially be a huge source of revenue for you. We will also talk about how you can actually make referrals into an ongoing program, not just for your contractors, but pretty much anybody who is your constituent. So if you have hundreds of thousands of people in your database that you have reached out to in the past, they don't work with you today, but they know your company, you absolutely can send out referral campaigns to them, ask for referrals. And because with the Sense platform, and we'll obviously talk about this, because with the Sense platform, you can also pay people out. It doesn't matter whether these folks are on your payroll or not. You will absolutely be able to do that just using our platform. Second, lots of data that we will share with you on how referrals have a much higher close rate, which means the candidates that come to you are already pre-vetted, they're already pre-screened, they're already a better fit for the role. And thirdly, it dramatically reduces your cost per hire. We hear from a lot of our customers that when you are hiring for IT or professional resources, typical cost per hire can be up to $3,000. And when you're hiring for light industrial commercial workers, it could be $1,000 to $1,500. That's your cost per hire today. Imagine reducing that cost per hire, by 50%, and what that would do to your company's profits. Also, if you could just increase your referrals by 50% to 200%, which is the typical result that our customers see, all of that money is going to start flowing to your bottom line because you're not adding additional sourcers or recruiters to find these candidates. They're just automatically coming towards the top of the funnel. Secondly, it essentially gives your marketing team superpowers. It helps everybody in your company become a job marketeer. Everybody can have a personalized, way of reaching out to their own network, a personalized link that they can send out to people. But you essentially become the spokesperson of your entire company. It also helps you find and reach candidates that are not active on the job market. We talk about passive candidates all the time. If you actually reach out to your contractor base, they'll be able to say, here is a friend of mine, here is a buddy of mine who does exactly what I do. I know this person would be a great fit for the other role that you have open, and they will probably be able to refer people who are not actively looking. And then most importantly, you're going to see higher on assignment times with people who are referred to you. They tend to be more loyal, they tend to have a longer retention rate. So uh, there are about 30% less probability of somebody leaving their assignment in the middle. They'll actually end up completing their assignment, so you don't have to worry about involuntary turnover. And then, of course, when it comes to brand trust and loyalty, more than 8 in 10 people say that they would trust a recommendation from friends and family. Just taking our own example here at Sense, we are now over 100 people strong company, and nearly half of our company has been hired by employee referrals. It is absolutely the number one source, the number one way that we bring on employees today. And those are also, our best employees, the ones that have the longest tenure with us. Now, when you do have a referral program, what are some of the things you should be tracking? What are some of the things you should be expecting from a referral program? So here are some metrics that we would recommend that you absolutely have your eye on. First of all, are you increasing your employee engagement? In other words, how many referrals are you getting per employee? Typically in staffing companies, this number is very dismal. Very few people would actually send referrals. There is a perception that if you refer somebody, they just go into a black hole. You have no idea if somebody reached out to them, if somebody talked to them, did they ever get submitted, what happened to them. And obviously referrals are personal. This is a friend of mine, and I don't want a friend of mine to have a bad experience. But if you have an automated referral program like we will show you today, you certainly can give the same transparency back to the referrer. Second, are you getting better quality referrals? In other words, how many interviews per referral do you generate versus a regular candidate? You will typically see this number to be 2 to 3x, the candidates that you source, but that's another good thing to track. Reduce cost per hire. I talked about this in my last slide. That is absolutely essential. You can certainly see that anytime you get a referral, you are not paying any money to a job board. You're not paying for a job posting. These are people who are coming to you, and you're potentially paying some sort of a referral bonus, but the total cost here is going to be much less than your cost per hire. Then, of course, your time to hire. Referrals actually tend to get assignments pretty quickly because they're pre-vetted, pre-screened candidates. You're not bringing them in and then saying, hey, what position can this person be a fit for? They're already targeted for a particular position, and as you think about it, in that position, they can be submitted almost immediately, which means if they make it through, they'll probably get hired pretty quickly. And then just track your conversion rate. If you're getting 100 referrals, how many of them are getting hired? And if that conversion rate is much better than, which is likely to be, than your typical conversion rate, then this is where you want to double down, put more muscle behind this, put more dollars behind this. So these are some of the key metrics that you should be tracking when it comes to referral programs. Now, one of the things we want to talk about is what are some ways you can make referrals your competitive advantage. This is where we'll go into a lot more detail on how some of the forward-thinking customers think about referrals. So Ryan, I'll throw this back at you to take us through some of the ways we can make referrals more competitive, and then I'll circle it back from you after that.
Sounds good. So really, to get started, what we found a lot of companies, the status quo today is their referral program is really word of mouth. That's the bulk of it. It's not necessarily a full-blown program. Some of our early clients, what they said was, we have very sophisticated systems, processes for how we buy job ads. But when it comes to referrals, you never know what you're going to get, so it's hard to rely on that as a source. So, really the first way to make referrals your competitive advantage is to be strategic about the program. As Pankaj already said, there's lots of data that we've seen that lots of companies have published around the impact on referrals, particularly in a staffing context. We've seen that in terms of they're more likely to get hired, they work longer hours, they're more cost effective, they produce more gross margin faster. And really, when we talk about being strategic with the referral program, we talk about putting some structure behind it, having some simple bands, like if we get a full-time placement, it's $1,000. If it's a kind of a light industrial type role, that might be a $25 gift card. Putting in some basic rules is really the first step to that program. And if you need help figuring out what are kind of industry best practices, we're here to help to really set the strategy for the referral program. Once you have that strategy, it really comes down to how do you promote the program. A lot of times when I'm talking with companies, they'll say, hey, we have a really hard job to fill, so we're going to double or triple the bonus. And a lot of research has shown it's not necessarily how much you pay, but it's how often you promote the program. And if I look here, using sense journeys to target your employees, your contractors at the right time is really important. So, they just got an offer, they just started a new assignment, they just finished an assignment. All of those touch points are great opportunities to ask for a referral. When I was at a recruiting agency, we had a standard practice. Every time we were on the call with a candidate, we ended that call asking for a referral. And we had an automation set up that, 10 minutes after I hung up, we would be sending an email or a text saying, hey, if you have a referral, here's how you send it in. So being able to promote the program, we've got obviously a lot of journeys that you can set up and scale up within a few minutes. So really important to keep promotion for the program high. Put links on your website, put links in your recruiter's email signatures, post your referral program out on LinkedIn and your job ads to make sure that the program is very well promoted and everyone knows about it. The next part that you want to do with your referral program is you want to make sure it's really simple. No one wakes up wanting to refer a candidate to their place of work, even the best places. They're busy, they've got other things to do. So it's really important that it's simple to refer. Some tools for referrals, you've got to log in, create an account, you've got to sync your address book. There's a lot of steps to the process. Most people, when they want to send a referral, they know exactly who they want to refer because they were talking to them and then their friend was complaining they don't like their job, or one of your workers just got a new job and they were telling their friends about it, and their friends were curious, hey, are they still hiring? I'd be interested if you know of any opportunities. So it's got to be really simple. You got to be able to send a referral within a few seconds. You need to be able to do it from your phone. As Pankaj said, you don't want the referrals to go into a black hole. And unfortunately, that's kind of the status quo. If a recruiter and a candidate have a casual conversation, they might give a recommendation. This actually happened to me just a few months ago. I helped someone who got laid off connect with a local staffing firm. They hired the person. I found out like about 4 months later. I wasn't even told the person was hired. So I'm thrilled they got hired, but I really would have loved to have known that they got a job offer. I would have loved to have known when they started their first day. So you want to keep it simple. You want to make sure it's promoted. and that you're really reaching as broad a population as possible, because anyone can send you referrals as long as your recruiters are building that relationship and they're asking. The next step, and this is my favorite one to talk about, is never miss a payment. If you're offering a reward, the easiest way to kill a referral program is to not pay out bonuses, or to make it really complicated for people to actually get that referral bonus. A lot of times, for good reason, agencies have rules around who's eligible. You may not want to pay out a bonus for a candidate you're currently engaged with. You want to make sure those rules are clearly stated. You want to make sure they're tracked in a centralized place. A lot of companies, because we did this back at my firm back in the day, it was an Excel spreadsheet. We would set calendar reminders. Every recruiter was kind of tracking it on their own. So we had no centralized visibility into how it worked. So I really think it's important when you're managing these programs to also make sure that you're setting the right rules for how the person actually gets paid. So if you say, for example, a person has to work 30 days, make sure you let them know when 30 days is. Make sure you're sending them notifications at each of those steps so that they know when they're going to get a reward or not. You want to make sure it's transparent, and you want to make sure that when you're trying to figure out what bonuses need to be approved, that you're not having to go talk to 3 or 4 different managers within your company to get that approved. You want to be able to have one point person that can say whether or not a referral bonus is eligible or not. Nothing's worse than being told you're about to get a couple $100 from your recruiter, only to have that recruiter come back a couple weeks later saying, oh, hey, sorry, something happened. I'm no longer allowed to give this to you. So you want to make sure that you don't miss those payments. Those are paid out on time every time. The last piece, and this is something that a lot of people kind of scratch their head and they try to figure out, if we're starting a referral program, how do we handle the taxes? And how do we make sure that when we pay people, that we're not getting into trouble with the IRS when it comes to how we report that income? We want to make sure that we are filing the appropriate taxes. We want to make sure that that's a transparent process. And before I kind of go down how we've built out to make that easier, I'll just kind of share a story about how we've seen it work with a lot of companies today. And that's that for a lot of times, the people that you're sending referral bonuses to are not currently on the payroll. They might be a former candidate. They might be a recruiter's connection out in the community. It might be a client. So ultimately what happens a lot of times is, you're giving out bonuses, and maybe you're giving out a couple different bonuses, $250 here, $500 here, $1,000. A lot of times companies will require people to fill out a W-9 before they'll receive a referral bonus, which makes it kind of difficult to actually process. You got to send the form to the person you're trying to pay out. They've got to print that form out, fill it, scan it, send it back in. You've got all these touch points. You've got your some of your best promoters. They're emailing you their social security number in your inbox, and that's sensitive data that I wouldn't want to just pass that along in an email. So once you do that, then the file is going to get passed around within the company, and eventually someone gets some tax forms at year end, and you're kind of tracking, who do we pay out bonuses to? Who do we need to file those 1099s for? So you want to make sure as you're scaling a program up that you're not creating more problems for you down the line. And that's really why it's important to make sure that you've got a system in place to track who's getting what reward, and making sure you're collecting the right information in a secure and automated fashion so that people make sure they get their 1099s at an appropriate time. And you can eliminate all of that back and forth. You want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a difficult position where you're trying to collect that tax information after the fact. And that's primarily important if you're offering larger bonuses. We have some clients, they do a $25 gift card. And it would be very difficult to reach the threshold of $600, a $25 gift card at a time. But if you're doing, more higher end, placements, IT staffing, where you might be paying out $1,000 or $2,000, then that's obviously a different scenario. So you want to make sure that the whole program is well thought out. You want to make sure that you've got the right processes in place to keep it simple for the people referring, as well as your recruiters and your administrators who have to actually promote and manage the program. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Pankaj, and we'll keep going from here.
Yeah, no, Ryan, thank you so much. But, listen, while you were talking about this whole tax headache thing, somebody asked a very pertinent question, which is what's a competitive referral bonus amount? And how many hours should a referred candidate work before they get paid? But they also added that, $250 could be very high for a commercial staffing firm. So if you can add some thoughts, and I can add some thoughts after that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the biggest thing is, you get to decide when you want to pay someone. And whenever you pay out a bonus, my typical recommendation is you pay out a bonus. You want to make sure if you're spending a dollar, you've already made several dollars. You don't want to get into a spot where you're losing money on a candidate. So it depends. We have some clients that it's, after, 20 hours, some of them it's after 20 shifts. Some of them it's after a certain number of days on assignment. So you really have some options there in terms of how the product works. In terms of best practices, I always recommend paying out smaller amounts sooner because it's a more immediate reward. If I have to wait a year to get $200 or you're offering me $50 this month, I would much rather do that. And I'm seeing some folks writing some of the comments, we pay $100 after 80 hours worked for commercial staffing. Thank you for the person who's contributing to that. But we definitely see that on the commercial side, amounts ranging anywhere between, $20 to $100 based on the length of the assignment and what their gross margin is.
Awesome. Super helpful. Thanks, Ryan. So, hopefully this gives you a sense of why referrals could become a competitive advantage for you. But at the same time, when we developed this product, we wanted to make sure we kept these key tenets in our mind. So we not just develop a referral product that just lets you refer people and that's it. We wanted to build a complete suite of products that actually allows you to pay people. We are one of the few referral products out there that actually have a payment module built in. We will go ahead and generate 1099s for you so we can take care of taxes. And one of the things I'm going to talk about in an upcoming slide is how strong our integration is with the ATS. So with that, let's talk a little bit about Sense Referrals, which is the latest addition to the Sense engagement platform. So you probably have a good sense of what the old way of referrals look like and what you could do with Sense. So instead of having referral campaigns that are super rigid and slow to launch, and they're definitely not connected to your ATS, because if you're doing referrals today using an email or an Excel sheet, none of that is going into the ATS. That's the big thing with Sense. We are a completely integrated platform with Bullhorn. Several of you on this call use the Sense platform already. You use the Sense Engage product, you use the Sense messaging product. Please know that referral seamlessly integrates with the entire suite. You will still continue to use the Sense Engage product, and using that you could send out a journey to 10 people or 10,000 people and ask them to refer candidates. Now, how would you ask them to refer candidates? Instead of saying, hey, send us an email or upload a resume, you actually can do that via an AI powered chatbot. So literally all you're sending to somebody is click on this link and refer somebody. And as they click on that link, it's a natural language conversation. So it's a very, very, slick user experience, if you will, where somebody's talking to a chatbot and before you know it, within 30 seconds or a minute, you've just referred somebody. Then, of course, just your experience, right? I mean, you are absolutely going to set up any number of reminders that you want. There again, Sense Engage will couple with Sense Referrals. So, for example, you can say, have a journey where every time somebody who was referred has gotten submitted, You can send somebody a message. Hey, the person you referred has just been submitted. They've just gotten an interview. They've just gotten placed. They just started. Their 90 days will finish on such and such date. So you can get all of that automatically. It's a seamless, very, very transparent, very transparent process. And then lastly, I can't say enough about the payment process. You simply just set that up within Sense and just forget it. It's real time. We will know exactly when somebody started, when the payment is due. On that exact day, people will just get automatically paid out. And once somebody hits the IRS mandated limit of $600 within a particular year, they will also get a 1099 from Sense. So if you think about the feature set, this is everything that the product includes. What you're seeing on the right-hand side is the chatbot, which Jason is going to show you here live pretty soon. But there is an actual chatbot built in, which is an easy way for you to refer candidates. You have rewards management, so your payments are going to go out automatically. You have tax compliance, so 1099s will be generated where needed. You can create referral campaigns and use Sense Messaging or Sense Engage to send them out via email or SMS. So keep in mind that this absolutely integrates with the entire product suite that we have today. Everything is automated, obviously, so all your constituents, the person who referred, the person who got referred, your recruiter, they'll all stay engaged. And needless to say, it seamlessly integrates with Bullhorn. So for those of you who might be interested in looking at the product in more detail, or if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out. Please feel free to go to sensehq.com/referrals, and you can ask to be added to early access, or just let your account manager know. Having said that, we already have a bunch of successful customers. So we've seen large customers using referrals already. Companies, like Staffmark, over $1 billion in revenue, to Sasser and Stepping Stones Group. So these are some really solid customers who helped us beta test the product. They've already been using the product and essentially are just seeing the value from the product. So one of the biggest use cases, which is a case study that we will talk a lot more about, is with Stepping Stones, where they've generated nearly $2 million in new gross margin. And Ryan, I know you worked very closely with them, so if you want to talk a little bit more about what Stepping Stone was able to accomplish, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, well, they're a great use case for using the product. They use all of the various components of it, from embedding referral campaigns in their Sense journeys, managing the payouts, promoting it. Just to give you all kind of a sense of this company, they're primarily in the healthcare space. They're staffing clinicians in school settings. Your occupational therapists that work with kids, your speech language pathologists. So licensed credential employees. And what they would do is they would offer different bonuses for different types of jobs. As many of you all have asked on this webinar so far, they would pay out close to $1,000 for their longer term assignments, for their more skilled candidates. For shorter assignments, or for positions that are more per diem, they would lower that amount depending on the position and the hours worked, to amounts close to like $250. What they were able to do was really streamline the whole process to make sure they weren't tracking everything in Google Sheets or Excel. So they were able to really scale up the program. All of the recruiters knew we can point people to the referral program. We could log referrals in one place, so we know where the referrals are. We were able to streamline all of the bonus payouts, so they didn't have to worry about figuring out who gets what bonus and when. But the real value for them was, they looked at where their referral program was at in terms of the percent of their hires. And they were able to triple the percent of their hires from referrals. And, they were able to, very easily calculate what their gross margin was for a typical placement. They knew that referrals stayed employed longer. They were more profitable. So by tripling those referral hires, they were able to really make a sizable impact. You can see $2 million added in gross margin, really within, I believe, the time frame is about 18 months. So really successful, perfect kind of example of what you can do with your referral program. And that's obviously on the healthcare staffing side of things. We've also seen similar results on the more light industrial commercial staffing, where there's a lot higher volume of placements, lower margin, smaller bonuses, and other types of positions, whether it be direct hire or more, sort of like temp work. So I hope that kind of gives a picture of how you can use it and some of the successes clients are already seeing with referrals. And Pankaj, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ryan. Actually, I'm going to send this back to Jason. Hopefully this makes sense in terms of, what the product can do, but let's show you the product in action. So I'll stop sharing my screen, hand it over to Jason, and he's going to walk you through the product.
All right, thanks, Pankaj. Let me go ahead and share away. So you should be seeing Sense.
Yes, we are.
As we continue to go through this, what I'll do is I'm going to start by, how the actual referral is initiated. And what we talked about before was that through Sense Engage, at various points, Ryan was talking about making sure that we, at multiple points, whether they just started their assignment or they're 45 days in or something akin to that. In this case, we have a referral ask coming 45 days in the assignment. It could be week 1. Another example would be, and that one was going out via email, and I'll show you that one in just a second. But another one might be, someone's winding down a contract. Well, when the contract is done, maybe we want to make a referral ask at that point. In this instance, we're able to send that out via SMS. In the other example that I had, we're sending out via email. So depending on, how you want to do it, mix it up. The more, the merrier. So in this case, I'm going to go into the 1 month. Actually, sorry, clicked a little prematurely there. Go in the referral ask, where we built the email. And as this goes out, this is actually going to be a specific link for the recruiter. So they'll have that. They can put it in their regular signature for their standard emails as well. But this is automatically going out, triggered at a certain point when we think people are happy or when we just want to solicit maybe for a specific role, but in this case, just a general referral. Now, what that's going to look like, so I'm going to maybe minimize this for a second, or at least drag an email out. So this would be the email that was actually received. And I can just come in, click on the link, and it will take me into a nice chatbot interface. And I'll show you what this looks like from a desktop perspective. And then next, as this is me making a referral as a connector. And then next, I'll also go through the chatbot on a mobile device as the candidate or as the referral. So in this case, hey, Jason, welcome to Blue Bay Staffing Referral Program. Do you want to help someone find their next job? And the first thing I want to note here that we talked about before is making sure we keep people up to date. So as things happen, we're sending out email communications. And as we go through this process, I'll show you some of the output of that. But also it's self-service. So anytime they want to, they can just click this, check in their referrals. So if they referred 3 people, they can see the status of those. And that gets emailed to them. So we can see, hey, this candidate was interested, this one wasn't, this one actually got hired, this one you've already been paid on, and you'll be able to see that type of content. But first, I'm going to say, let's refer a friend. And the first thing it's going to ask is, hey, another nice feature about Sense Referrals is we can refer for specific jobs, not just generically. So I'm going to say yes to that. And then it's going to take me to a job list. That job list is going to be configured by your firm as far as what you want to expose. And if you have, different branches with different jobs, we can definitely segment that as necessary for these referral links. And in this case, I'm just going to find one that looks somewhat interesting, maybe this full stack developer, and I'm going to go ahead and refer someone for that. And the nice thing is, hey, now it's going to tell me exactly what the referral fee is for that. So professionally, it could be high, or it could be, a lower paying position. So it might be a referral fee of $25 Amazon gift card. But we'll say what that is here. I'm going to say refer a friend. And so it's going to ask me what my referral's name is. And I'm going to say Michael Bolton. And can't wait to meet them. People love personal notes, so one of the nice things here is we're going to collect a little information, which is going to make it even more engaging for Michael when he gets the email from us or text from us later. So I'm just going to cut and paste something in. Usually people write a sentence or two. So he's a great personal friend looking to move to a smaller tech company, and his work on analytics platform is epic. So thank you. We'll let you know if Michael ends up working for us. And then it's just asking me for my full name. So I'm going to use my name of Peter Gibbons. Wow. All right. And then it's going to ask me for my contact information. So what's my email? I'm just going to say Jason plus Peter at SenseHQ. I'm just doing this so I can receive the emails myself. And then thank you. How should we contact Michael Bolton? And this is, you get a choice, email or text. So I'm just going to say text. And I'm going to put in 857-81365, which just happens to be my cell phone number. And great. And just a quick thank you, and it's all done. So very painless, just a little bit of contact information, and then the one question of like, hey, why are you referring this person? So all that being said, I now should have I'm going to shrink this down and get rid of this. And you'll see here, from this number, I now have, hey, Michael Bolton, Blue Way Staffing is referring someone. So you can see I do this more than once in demonstrations, but right here is a link going to Michael Bolton. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to use my phone here. So now from a mobile aspect, this is what it'll look like. And so quick intro, and then here's what here's what they had to say. So I get to understand exactly, why I might be excited. Someone thinks a really nice thing about me, and I can then say interested, not interested. And so I'm going to say I'm interested in this. And then now I understand the actual position. So it was a full stack developer, right up my alley. And then let's make sure we have the contact information. So we had given the cell phone number. So now it's just asking for the email as well. So we're just going to say Jason plus Michael at SenseHQ. And now that that's done, great. Is this best phone number? I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to say, hey, perfect. Thanks for, filling out and expressing interest. Do you have any other questions? And I am going to ask a question. So I'm just going to say, I'm not going to be too verbose about it, but what is the pay? And so that went out to the recruiter, and that notified them. Anything else I can help you with? Nope, I'm all set. Thank you. Great. And then what's happening now is it's actually redirecting me, and I don't really have a full stack developer, but a similar position on our website. So it'll redirect to the position so someone can actually go and apply. So that's a little bit about the interaction that you'll see with both the connector or the referrer and the referral from a data entry standpoint. Now, the next thing I'm going to point out is I'm going to come back into my browser, but I'm going to go over into Bullhorn. And the first thing you'll see, if I look up Michael Bolton, is he is now a candidate in the Bullhorn system. So I can now go in and look. It's created that record with the name. It's a referral lead, and then of course it's been referred by Peter Gibbons. So the data entry is non-existent, already happened for you as part of the integration. And then I'm shortly going to go into the Sense referrals area over here. But before I do, I did want to highlight the emails that are going all along, because this stays in tune with really what we're talking about and keeping people informed. So, hey, Peter, thanks for recommending Michael Bolton. So that's going out to the connector. And then you have, hey, Michael, just so you know, or actually in this case, it's going out to recruiter. So the recruiter is made aware of it. And then thanks for your interest. So Michael Bolton, stay tuned. We let a recruiter know. And then continuing on, just all the way through, there's all this white glove communication, making sure people know every step of the way. So in this case, the recruiter, what's the pay? and then Michael Bolton is interested in the job, so making sure everyone's aware. And then for Peter Gibbons, keeping the person who made the referral, keeping them up to date, like Pankaj was talking about. He is interested, so he's going to continue to move forward. Now, I'm going to jump from Journeys, where we initiated this from, into the Referrals tab within Sense. So within the Referrals tab, we have a few different items here that we'll go through. The first one is the referrals themselves. So Michael Bolton was referred by Peter Gibbons for the full stack developer, which is in San Jose, and the status is interested. So initially it's going to start out as sent, and then once, in this case, Michael responds one way or the other, it's going to be dispositioned to either interested or not interested. And then they're going to reside in this inbox, and you don't even really have to think about it. It's kind of like a set and forget type of thing, because the process just runs itself. Because once they're in the system, they've been input into Bullhorn and they're in the Send system. So we're just going to continue listening to what's happening in Bullhorn. So if that person does end up getting placed, then we're going to automatically move them to hired. And you might be asking, how do they get moved to placed? Well, we're going to work with you to figure out what the configuration is that should count towards that. Typically, it's that a placement's created against that candidate and the status is approved, but we can tweak that to whatever suits your business. And then once they move into the hired area, well, that's great, because now they're noted as hired in here, but that also moves them into the reward section because they were referred and they were hired. So as I come over in the reward section, well, here in the inbox are going to be all the people that have been hired that were referred. And as part of this, an admin can come in and basically say, yes, this is correct, and approve the bonus. And we can see when they start, when they're paid on, and once you approve it and it's not time to pay them, then they move into this pending state where they start on, but when they get paid on. So these people all started or has been approved, but they don't get paid until this time. So they sit here in the pending bin. And then this is where it gets super nice, because not only do we keep track of everything, but we can also go ahead and pay people, whether that's ACH direct deposit, whether that's an Amazon gift card, all of that can happen in the background. And one thing I will note is you don't have to pay everyone, right? So you can still have referrals. So for some positions that are just, really tight margin and things like that are really common, you can still have a referral mechanism in here, but not everyone needs to get paid. But in most cases, there's usually a small amount, whether that's $25 or $50 for the referral, even for the lower paying positions. But once we get to the paid area, well, that's where this can automatically happen. And it can be triggered off a few different areas like Ryan was talking about. One is, hey, it's been 30 days since that person started, or it's been, 20 shifts, or it's been 80 hours. So we can help coordinate that and then approve the payment. Now, as far as, people that have referred multiple referrals, well, that's great, but eventually they might get up into the over $600 amount. And that's where, if you're having Sense take care of this, it's really nice to be able to have like the W-2s automatically generated at the end of the year. So that's just another feature about what we're doing for you as kind of the full life cycle service of referrals. And just to make sure everyone's aware what these other items are. So the assistant is just a sample, chatbot where you can play around and see how it's going to interact. The connectors, well, this is where we're keeping track of all the connectors like Bill Lumberg or Richard Hendricks or Gavin Belson, or in this case, Peter Gibbons. And we can see like Ian Grimm, he's prolific, right? He's got 12 referrals, 11 were interested, 1 wasn't, and then he has 10 hires. So, that's great for him. Looks like all of those were high paying jobs. So we keep track of that. And then one thing I will note, both on the connectors and the referrals page, all of this is essentially automatic because of the initiation of this via the events that we're sending out and keeping track of it. But if for some reason you are talking to someone on the phone, you do have the ability to go ahead and both import singularly. You can see here I can add a new referral singularly if I'm talking to someone on the phone. So I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that that's a capability too. From the jobs perspective, not much here. This is just, once again, a list of jobs that are going to be relative to, or not relative to, but from Bullhorn that you want to expose as part of this referrals program. So maybe you only want to expose, 15 of your 100 jobs for people to recommend for this, referral program. So you can control that here. And once again, we can figure what the matching mechanism is to determine what's shown here. And then settings, this is just the last area. We're going to be able to kind of put in the avatar. If people aren't recommending for a specific job, to be able to put the categories of what they want. And then, default bonus settings, and then notification settings. So just quick kind of configuration area. And, I will say, just to kind of wrap all the functionality, industry-wide, what we've seen is, just about 4% or 0.4% of all the people applying are from Indeed that get converted to placement. And then you look at referrals in general, which is about 1.8% from regular referrals, or essentially networking referrals, like very less what I would consider, one or two aspects. One, either it's impersonal because it's just kind of like networking people you kind of know, or regular referrals where there just isn't a powerful real referral campaign going on. So it's usually less than 2%. But what we've seen with our product with Sense Referrals is just about 13 to 14% of all those referrals are actually converted. And that's not just a singular client, that's across the board. So it's prolifically high conversion rate compared to other sources. So on that, what I'm going to do next is send it back to Pankaj to wrap up.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
And I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully it gave you an indication of how straightforward and well thought through this product is. But I wanted to bring everybody back to, because most of you are using some Sense product today already, I want to bring everybody back to what our total platform today looks like. This is almost a culmination of where we wanted to go when we started this 5 years ago. So if you look at this is your talent life cycle, straight from sourcing and attraction, engaging with a candidate, getting them to a point where they have an offer, you're taking care of them before they start and you're onboarding them, while they're on assignment, and afterwards when they get redeployed or reactivated. So we built 4 different products that can help you along this journey. I think most of you are today using Engage and messaging already. Engage is our automated, cadence-based, journey-based platform. Messaging is essentially two-way text messaging. Chatbot is a conversational AI assistant. And then Referrals is essentially an automated referral tracking along with payouts. Now, if you think about how we've thought about a system of engagement, all of you are going to have a system of record. For all of you, it's Bullhorn. And you're going to need an engagement platform to sit on top of that. I mean, if you think about everything that Sense does today, you will essentially have to engage with multiple different point solutions. And even with those, you'll get only half of what Sense does. So if you think about an automation platform, you might have to use something like a Herefish. With messaging, you might have to use something like a Textus or a Text Recruit or a ZipWhip. With chatbot, you might have to use a Maya or a Wade and Wendy. With referrals, you might have to use, a Worklama or staffing referrals. But our vision has always been to build the single engagement platform, give you efficiencies of scale, efficiencies of bundled pricing, but at the same time, one single integration, one single customer success team, one single service level and SLA to essentially run your business smoothly. So that's where we are headed. That's where we are today. Happy to take any questions that you guys might have. I have a few that I've noted already from the Q&A panel, so we'll answer some of those, but please feel free to send us more questions. And in no particular order, I'm just going to throw some of these questions at you, Jason and Ryan, and I'll take some of them as well. So I'll start by reading this very first question that I'll actually take, which said, do you have to manually build all this yourselves, or will a support person assist? Absolutely, a support person will assist. You should just know that by working with Sense so far. Your customer success person is going to be your single point of contact. We will help you set up, all the referral workflows that Jason just walked you through. We'll help you map your business processes on what you want these referral payments to look like, and we'll also obviously take care of integrating you with Bullhorn and setting up payments. Ryan, I'll throw this one at you. This question that says, what happens if a candidate is already in the ATS and another person still refers them? And so I'll throw that one at you.
Yeah, it's a great question. You can set different eligibility criteria. That's a very common one. If we're already talking to you, or we've talked to you within the past, 3 months, we're not going to pay out a bonus. You might have others, like if a candidate gets referred after they get hired, if 2 people refer the same person. So you can set all those eligibility questions and automatically check all of that. So you don't have to go back and check all your records, like, did this person get referred? Had this person applied? Were we already engaged? The product will automatically detect and flag those bonuses as not eligible.
Awesome. Ryan, I've got another one for you. What's the fail safe for someone not to be paid if they were originally approved, but then they don't meet the requirements of the term?
Yeah, so if a candidate, let's say, terms early, or if an employee stops working for you, it'll automatically cancel the bonus, or you can set it to be flagged for review. So typically it's in a situation where you might have a back out, they sign, they get started, they don't show up for work, or they quit halfway through their first shift. You can automatically cancel those bonuses and keep a record, so we're not paying this bonus out because the person didn't show up for work, for example.
Got it. Jason, here's one for you, which I think we covered already, but maybe you can sort of go through this again. When naming the candidate, do you typically link the referrer to the referee in the ATS? And does the activity from Sense referral journeys also get entered into the ATS?
So yes, there is linking. As that candidate is put into the ATS, it is linked. You saw, by in this case, Peter Gibbons being tagged to that candidate. So yes, that is happening. And if we think about the automation that originally sent that off and initiated, that too is logged in the ATS as a note. So you have records of, yes, we did solicit this person for a referral at this date and this date. And then you can see the fact that response created a candidate, later on when they did actually reply.
Awesome. Thank you. Ryan, this one's for you. How is the funding for the referral awards handled?
Great. So when you set up Sense Referrals, you can also decide if you want us to manage the payouts, or if you'd like to handle it yourself, or kind of a joint management of those. But basically, it's pretty simple. You hook a bank account up, or debit or credit card to it. When you click approve a bonus, we'll deduct the funds from your account. And when it's ready to be paid, we'll pay it out to the user if they are approved and meet all of your eligibility criteria.
Makes sense. I'll take this next one. Somebody asked, will referrals have additional costs? The answer is yes. This is absolutely a brand new product that we've launched. So there will be an additional cost to it. But I can tell you from my experience of every customer that we've talked to so far, their ROI from the product has been tremendous. Nobody really blinked an eye when we started talking about pricing. And given some of the data that Ryan shared with you around gross margins before, typically the product can end up paying for itself 20 to 30 times over. Cool. I just have one last question, Ryan. I don't know how to answer this, but I'll throw it at you anyway. The question really is: we currently do referrals a certain way. Why should I switch? Which sounds like is a lot of what we were talking about. But if you want to add some final thoughts, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think it's I always go back to gross margin, right? For a lot of companies, there's a lot of money being left on the table because we're not getting the most out of our referral programs. So my kind of typical advice when people are trying to evaluate, should they, take another look at their referral program? Should they invest in a tool to help automate that whole end-to-end process? I would really look at how many jobs are you filling from referrals today, and what would the impact be on the business if you were to double or triple that? That's what an automation product like this does, and the impact of it really comes down to being able to fill more jobs, filling those jobs faster, and growing revenue. Everything else, paying people on time, giving people transparency, avoiding the black hole, that really helps build your brand's reputation, helps build goodwill with the people that you're working with. But I think it comes down to a very simple ROI calculation. If we can fill more jobs, we can drive revenue. And I think for a lot of companies, referrals is the most untapped resource that people have in their arsenal. It's the one area where you can invest $1, you make $5. And whenever you can do that, that's a good math equation to solve.
Yeah, well said, Ryan. Thank you so much for that. Thank you everybody for staying on with us. Please reach out to us via email or go to sensehq.com/referrals if you're curious, or if you'd like to see the product in greater detail or talk about pricing. We are at 12:57, so we'll give you 1 or 2 minutes back. Like I said, this content is being recorded and will be sent over to everybody who registered, so you will get the presentation as well as recording. Again, thank you everyone for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.